Hi guys, it's Jack from Epicures Videos here. Today I'll be going over the very recent game between Magnus Carlsen and Vishy. You probably clicked on this video because of the thumbnail or the title, and I'll give it away now if you didn't. Vishy in the course of the two games beats Magnus Carlsen. Let's get right into it. It's a little snapshot from earlier in the game. So as you can see, it begins with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop c4. This is the Italian game. Check out my video on the Italian game if you haven't already. And we get knight f6, and now he's not going to go for a Fred liver attack, as Magnus is probably familiar with the Traxler or just this knight a5 move. Check out my video on the Fred liver attack. As well. So he plays pawn d3, and we get bishop out to e6, and now we get castles and castles. Now here white is slightly better. The bishop on c4 is better than this bishop. This bishop can't really move, and this light square bishop is yet to get into the game. We get rook e1, d6. This just helps bring out the light square bishops, and because this whole chain of pawns are on dark squares, then the light square bishop will become very influential later in the game. So we get pawn a4 and knight a5, attacking the bishop. And we get bishop back to a2, and now we get c5. As I said before, this bishop is now glued into the position, so it won't be moving for a while, and then this light square bishop will try to become increasingly important. So we get c3, knight back to c6, and now we get knight a3, sorry, looking to transfer the knight to this square, and or this square to try and rotate it here. So we get h6, knight back to c2, and a6. So you can kind of see that Magnus is playing on both sides of the board at the same time. But the problem with playing on the queen side a lot is that if you play on the queen side a lot, you're not that likely to checkmate, because when you play on the queen side, there's no king there. It is important to play on the queen side, but just remember, if you have the option, play on the king side. So we get knight e3, was the move, a6, knight e3, and bishop out. The light square bishop immediately offering a trade, and I don't think Magnus will be too happy with this, because so many of his pawns are on dark squares. He would quite like to have his light square bishop in the game, but it can't really go anywhere, so you might as well remove white's bishop. Vishy's like, no thanks, and puts his knight into the center of the board, and if knight takes, pawn takes, and there's a fork. Shockingly, Magnus didn't blunder that. And you don't really want to take this bishop because it's very passive. You don't really want to take this knight because it's just a fair trade. So we get rook e1 by Magnus, and knight back to d2, looking to rotate it, or looking to rotate the knight. We get b5 by Magnus, kind of shredding it all open, and then just the very calm knight f1, looking to transfer it here to kind of create the two knights that kind of link up. We get, because this knight e3 idea was kind of annoying with this knight forever being rooted in, because then takes, queen takes, queen takes, and then knight, well, if the knight was here, then you could have the option to take, and put the knight here, and attack the queen. So because of this, Magnus takes on d5, just gets rid of the knight completely, and Vishy offers a trade of light square bishops, and he takes it. Pawn takes, knight out, and b4, and Magnus just retreats to b7. We get rook e2, just kind of stabilizing the position. Stabilizing the position. We get c takes b4, and then c takes b4 again, and then a5. We get ab, and then we get rook b1, giving Magnus the open file, but for the cost of a pawn. Now, the accurate way to play this is to jump the knight into c5, but Magnus, I guess, missed it. So he played queen d7, and yeah, so we get rook b2, knight jumps in, rook takes pawn, queen f5, bishop out, and then knight takes pawn, and then knight f3, acknowledging that his knight is under attack, but so is Magnus. Magnus's queen is under attack. Rook, sorry, that's not a knight. And then we get rook back after the queen moves to b3, knight out, and then Vishy just takes it, looking to simplify into an endgame where he's a lot better with these two passed pawns. Now we get b6, rook d8. Kind of Magnus doesn't really want to do this because it renders his rooks slightly useless, and we get v7 by Vishy, and then the rook goes passive again. Now we get rook b6, putting on more pressure, and then this move c4 is with the idea of, well, I'll show you the idea in a second. It's not to push and promote, it's actually to play queen d3. So after rook c6, trying to attack the pawn, Magnus plays queen into d3. This is kind of a bit annoying. If you just take the queen, then this pawn promotes, well, not really promotes, but this pawn would be a very big asset, and this pawn would be lost because after pushes, and it's very complicated, but Magnus would be kind of a bit better. What he plays is queen f1, giving a queen trade. Rook takes pawn, it's actually defended, and you can see that she missed something. Let's just get the U-bar bar right. Because there's c4. Let me just get the engine up, and then queen g4, or queen g4 it was. Oh yeah, queen here to add to attack the pawn, and yeah, to not make this move such an issue. But what's played was played. Rook is defended by X-ray, and we get queen takes queen, king takes f1, then rook d7, which attacks the pawn, and now Vishy can't really defend it, so we get rook takes pawn, rook takes rook, rook takes rook, and then knight jumps into f5. Now the position's equal here. Very well played to Magnus, unlucky to Vishy, and the players just make a draw here. Vishy was very annoyed after this game because he said in his interview after the Armageddon that he wanted to win in classical. I'll tell you just now how the Armageddon works. Armageddon is basically if there's a draw, the player with white stays with white and the player with black stays with black. And white has 10 minutes on the clock, black has 7, which is quite a big difference. And then if it's a draw, black wins, but it's very kind of complicated. If you win the Armageddon, you get 1.5 points, and the loser gets 1 point. If you win in classical, which was the game I just showed you, you get 3 points. So let's get right into it. Vishy stays with white, Magnus stays with black. E4, E5, and we get another Italian D3, but this time a gioco pianissimo, and then we get bishop G5, but then it kind of goes similarly to the line before, as the bishop goes back to E7. We get knight C3, D6, kind of again trying to get the light square bishop out, and now A4. As I said, the Italian is very flexible. You have many different game plans. Sometimes you just play A4. Castles, now A5, and before we got a kind of knight A5 idea, but actually we get A5 by Vishy, defended by the rook, so the knight can't jump there. Now we get bishop out to G4. Now I get pawn to H3. Magnus takes and takes back with the queen on F3. Now knight jumps to the middle, queen back to D1, and C6, just kind of making it slightly, just trying to make improving moves to the center. Castles, and now we get B5. Now we get bishop back to A2, it's kind of untouchable there. Now Magnus has done very well, credit to him. He's equalised and slightly winning. But knight back, and that kind of advantage is gone. Knight back to E6, attacking the bishop, which is bishop back to E3. Now we get E6, stabilising the structure, not allowing the pawn to go any further. Now queen F3, just kind of creating more pressure on the king side. Now queen D7, knight back to E2, and D5, trying to crack at the center. We get C3, bishop out, take pawn, pawn takes, take, and now D4. We get pushes, kind of danger levels, and then we get knight jumps into the middle because it was under attack after the queen moved. Now we get queen back to D2, and rook out to E8. Magnus is winning again, not winning, has an advantage again. Now we get knight jumps into F2. This is a crazy move. You can't take back with anything because of the pawn fork, so the knight is just chilling on F2. Now after you take the pawn, now the knight can jump back. Queen D3, not attacking the knight, but just queen D3, and then queen D6, rook F3, G6, rook to F1, and then you get knight H5, just trying to rotate the knight, but Vishy doesn't let him wait. Magnus is winning here, but knight back to F. Knight back to F6, and then you get rook G2, H6, H4. Now pushes, takes, knight back, king up, rook F5, Just wait for the eval bar, and black is winning. But then we get knight takes pawn, rook into h4, knight takes pawn, knight takes, knight, rook takes, king back to f7, bishop back. Just a slight inaccuracy, but queen in isn't a great move. And then we get rook e5, take, and then king f2, just in the middle of everything. Now we get g5, and now g6. Now queen check, queen d8, queen back, and Vishy is just completely winning. And just a queen trade, and take the pawn, knight back, rook takes second pawn, and Magnus resigns after the rook forks the king and the knight. So amazing game by Vishy. Couple of misplays by Magnus, but all in all, it's a great game. A few blunders, but that's Armageddon for you. It's very kind of tense. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Please like and subscribe for more epic chess videos. Catch you in the next one. Bye.